can we determine then when we, as long as we want to stay in this body?
Yeah, but it's a blending of all that you are. It's a blending of the whole picture, in other words. And that question always comes from someone who's not ready to go.
No, because I'm excited about what lies ahead.
As you are excited about what lies ahead in this physical format, as this is the place that's calling you, then sure, you'll stick around. And all that is non-physical will flow with you, through you, to you. But you know that you are an eternal being. And that is a vantage point that is intoxicating also. That's a vantage point that calls you too. But that's the last subject in the world that a room full of physical beings wants to talk about. It's sort of like talking to a little girl just as she's old enough to start, and you say, you know, you're going to grow up. You're not always going to live here. And your mother's going to turn your bedroom into a sewing room. And your body's going to change. But it'll be all right. That's the conversation that we want to have with you. You are all eternal beings, and you're mostly non-physical, and you're going to croak, you're going to croak, you're
and you're
going to like it.
Okay,
you're going to like it. You're going to enjoy the fullness of who you are. You're going to adore re-emerging back into the fullness of who you are. And you're going to love focusing, continually focusing in the arena in which you were interested. You're going to like haunting humans. You're going to really, really like that.
But actually, that's not my question about the refocusing. It's until we do, can I bypass the aging process? Can I bypass an aging body? A lot of people, most people I know, their body starts deteriorating. I want to bypass
So what's your belief? What's the belief that you practice?
Enjoying my body and my physical body.
No, the belief that you're practicing that you said, most people I know. Mm-hmm. And so, when we say to you that if this time-space reality can give birth to a desire within you, and you can find vibrational alignment with that desire, then you have the wherewithal to accomplish that.
Okay.
Yes, no exceptions to that.
Good.
But when you focus upon something where there is so much evidence to the contrary, you put yourself in a compromised position. So that's why we're encouraging all of you to start with easier things, like finding parking places and things like that. Start with easy things until you show yourself the power of your focus and what you can accomplish with it.
And what about the beasts? I have a dog that's getting older. Is she going to decide when she's ready to leave?
Yes, and she'll do a much better job of it than any of your human friends.
I wanted to hear that.
You'll make it hard for her. The more domesticated she is, the more she too will struggle with that. Because especially the animals, you see, they come forth, they're really eager, they're really frisky, and almost in the moment that it isn't fun, they're ready to bolt into traffic. You think we're kidding?
No.
They're not worried about their eternalness. They're not worried about their worthiness. They know that they are eternal, and they know that there's another and another and another and another and another. And because when they are in their physical body, they are intertwined with their non-physical counterparts, they don't really notice the difference between being physical and non-physical. That's really worth thinking about. You will never get in the mind of an old dog and have him worrying about the death process, not one time ever. But you may find him re-emerging into non-physical and rediscovering his friskiness, you see.
And what about, is he comfortable? I mean, if my dog looks limping and I want to make her life more comfortable.
This conversation is, there's no way out of this conversation without ruffling a bunch of feathers, so we're just going to ruffle away here. Say to your dog every day, I like you to stay, but take off when you're ready.
Mm-hmm. I've told her
I like it when you stay, but take off when you're ready. And mean it. And mean it. Really mean it. Because it'll help you work the bugs out of your own worry about all of that, too.
I've been telling her that, and I thank you. I wanted a confirmation that she...
Esther remembers many, many years ago, and this was the most emphatic experience that she ever had on the subject. So Jerry and Esther were sitting on the porch, and there were big windows on the porch, and a rather renegade bird came crashing into the glass and bounced right over their head and laid on the feet, unconscious, and it didn't appear to be breathing at all. And Esther, new and frisky in her Abraham work and really believing in the energy and the power of Abraham, scooped the little bird up and held it in her hands. And the bird was lifeless. There wasn't anything going on. And then after about a minute, the little bird started squirming and trying to kick its way out of her hands, scraping and scratching with its feet on her hands. And Esther opened her hands and the bird flew away. And Esther said, Abraham, I thought that bird was dead. And we said, getting ready to be, happy to go either way. Happy with either way it went. Completely happy with either way it went. Then you provided a nice warm haven of comfort and made the bird focus its well-being into the physical environment. So the consciousness just returned to where it was since the bird was not really hurt. If the bird had been really hurt, nothing that Esther would have done would have made it want to stay. In other words, under those conditions. So the bird stayed rather than went, but it did not matter either way that it went. You all are not quite like that. You make death out to be the wrong thing, the bad thing, because you haven't quite got your thoughts around it. And as we said just when you first sat down, we don't want you to try to get your thoughts too much around all of that because it distracts you from what you're doing here. But it would be so helpful to you if you could just know how many of us and how many of those who you love and know are eager about what you're doing, and that you have joyful access to their insight all the time, that you are not receiving the benefit of because you block it with your misunderstanding about where they are, about what they're doing, about what they're like, about what they want, about what you're doing, about why you're here. In other words, there are so many misunderstandings. So let's set it all straight. We are all in this together. We are all consciousness. You are on the leading edge of thought. You are on the leading edge of creation. Everything that you are doing is of interest to all of us. You can't get it wrong. The contrast only helps you to decide more. And we are all constantly renewing ourselves into this physical realm. The majority of us who are non-physical are remaining non-physical as energy and consciousness that is supporting the consciousness that is that which is you. And there is little separation and not a distinction worth noting between that which is you in your consciousness and that which is us in our consciousness. We are all so in this together. So in earlier books, we called that blending.
So do I have to focus if I need some attention or some direction? Do I have to focus on it or just kind of go my way?
Well, the thing about that's a good question. And the thing about it that is really worth clarifying is the way you said, if I need some assistance. In that need, the problem is accentuated within you. In that need, the question is accentuated within you. So of course, in your need, in your problem, you're summoning the energy, but you're blocking it, and that's why it feels uncomfortable. If you could just relax in the knowing that help is always there. It's always there. It's always there. Help, clarity, guidance. So just like everything. You know, we hear the question from you frequently through the years. Abraham, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to be general or do you want us to be specific? Do you want us to decide what we want? Do you want us to be deliberate in our creation or do you want us to chill and be allowers? Do you want us to sift through the contrast and decide, or do you just want the contrast to put stuff in our vortex and you just want us to chill so our vortex can flow into our grid? We've said all of those things to you. And so the answer to the question is, yes, do all of that. But here is the distinction about it. When you are positive, when you feel good, when you're tuned in, the more specific you are, the better it feels. So when you have taken the time to meditate, when you've made your list of positive aspects, when you're in love with life, when you're in love with you, when you are feeling good, and you get focused upon what matters to you, and we join you, you have a high-flying, energetic, passionate, good-feeling experience that attracts others that are like you, and it's so good for you, and it's so good for us. If you don't feel so good, then go general. So the worse you feel, the more general you want to go, because going general will cause you to diffuse the attraction of the unwanted energy. And then once you find that sort of neutral place, then your vibration will begin to raise automatically, unless you're doing that thing you do. It's like the cork under the water. It's only under there if you're holding it under. When you let it go, it's going to bob back up. So your natural inclination is that high-flying frequency. But the way you said, if I need assistance, you were focused upon the need and holding that cork under the water. And so many people are in that place of need, that place of start again. The reason that more people don't understand about this non-physical energy and all of this non-physical assistance is because they've been convincing one another that they are unworthy beings here to prove some sort of worthiness. And when you start from that premise, you cut yourself off from the resources that make you soar. It's never a good idea to throw you all in one basket and call it all one thing. But that's really a basis that so many people have found them to. In your comparative nature, because instead of getting inside the vibration and establishing the vibration of your grid so that what's in your vortex can flow in inspiration, instead what most people are doing is, as we were talking about earlier with our friend, should I do that or that or that? They're sorting the piles and they're holding themselves in a sort of vibration of mediocrity that is keeping them from being who they really are. If you will leave this gathering and you will contemplate just this handful of things. Okay, I think I'm a vibrational being. I get that. And I focus my vibration through thought. So I'm going to do my best to focus on things that excite me. Not things that I should do, not things that I must do, not things that I have to do. Not things that I think I've done wrong, not things that other people think I've done wrong, not things that I think other people are doing wrong. In other words, if you just cut that out, your vibrations would raise instantaneously. But as we said earlier, you can't just cut out the thought patterns that you've had. And so what we seek to do in an environment like this is we want to awaken within you an understanding that this negative emotion that I may be feeling in any moment is there for one reason only. And that is, I'm off track from who I am. I'm looking at this in a way the larger part of me isn't looking at it. So I'm cutting myself off from the resources that I want. Do you go to a party to fill time? Or do you go to a party to have fun? Do you get in a conversation just to make the day pass faster? Or do you get into a conversation to stimulate interest? Esther was over with grandchildren, Kate and Luke, the other night. And they had 1 hour before they were to go to bed. And Esther said, what do you want to do? Well, they couldn't decide because Kate's female, Luke's male, Kate's older, Luke's younger. They couldn't find anything that they both mutually wanted to do, and they both wanted to do it with Grandma. So Esther said, well, let's watch television. And Kate said something very profound. I don't want to watch television, Grandma. It will make the time go too fast. She wanted to savor this hour. What they were both saying is, we don't want to do something that's not very fun. We want to do something that's really fun. We don't want to just have a moment. We don't want this hour to just go by. We want this to be an hour that is representative of the life that we're supposed to be living. As Esther listened to them, she thought, you are amazing and greedy little children. And it is so good to want this hour of your life to be all that it could be. So Esther said, all right, then it has to be something new, something that we've never done before, something that we've never even thought of before. And she went in, and there was a porcelain wastebasket that looked like it had never been used. And she took it from the guest bathroom and put it in the middle of the living room floor. And then she took coasters. Esther calls them shiny beaded things because she couldn't remember what they were. Shiny beaded things, a stack of shiny beaded things, really good weight to them. And they started lobbing the coasters into the wastebasket for a good 30 minutes past bedtime because it was so much fun. No one wanted to stop. Now, we know this isn't maybe the idea of having the most fun that any of you would have, but it's the best Esther could come up with in the moment. And it was something that was new and that was exciting and that they excelled at. They were so good at it. They had so much fun at it. And it was an hour and a half, don't tell Mother, of really, 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 really good investment in life, you see. And that's what we wish for you. We wish you to find shiny beaded things and lob them into things that are meaningful to you. We wish for you to care so much about this hour that you're not willing to squander it on an old unhappy memory, or that you're not willing to squander it on some subject that your inner being won't join you in. We want this to be an hour that you want to live as fully as you can. And as you start approaching life in that way, what you will discover is there are a whole lot of us really good at a whole lot of things. Really good at a whole lot of things. How is it that little kids that have never lobbed anything at anything in that way before could do it so well? How can they do it? Because they were tuned in, tapped in, turned on.